All right, today I'm taking a look at the PROSTORMER Rework Station. That's cool. Even came with some tweezers and stuff. That's nice. So you got the base station. One thing I can say I do like about this one is that most of the time when I get these things, you always have to put this on after you unbox it. It's already bolted on. I like that. Less work for me. And we got the gun itself. So I'll plug that in. And it does twist on, so you don't have to worry about this thing popping out. And then we got our power cable. It just has a regular power supply plug. So there's another thing that I like about this. It actually has the power switch in the front. Most of the time when I'm using these things, I'm used to having to reach it around behind to turn the thing on. But this one, just turn on like that. Oh, look at that. Blue lights. Now, before we get into that, let's take a look at these tips. So we got 4 different nozzles. So depending on the amount of volume that you want to put out or the style that you want to put out. So we got a square, large nozzle here. A large round nozzle for more volume. And then we've got a small nozzle if you want to really make sure that you're getting into a specific spot. And of course one right in between. Now for what I'm going to be working with, I'm going to use the medium-sized nozzle. So we got a bolt and a square nut to attach it. What's nice about these little square nuts is that most of the time they kind of self-catch, so I don't really have to worry about holding the other side. And then tighten it down. And it doesn't have to be too tight. We just want to make sure that it's not going to slip off when we turn it on. Yeah, that'll be perfectly fine. And we got a variety of tweezers. So we got pointy, flat, another pointy, and angled. So depending on how you're going to be working, what you're working with, these are great to have. And out of the 2 pointy ones, there's different sizes. So depending on whether or not you need more pressure or you just need a little bit more reach, you can use whatever you need. These are of course good for doing things like heat shrink because they're great for, just you can control the temperature on them. So you can really dial it into exactly what you need without melting the thing that's right next to it. But what I'm using for is for doing things like this. So you can see on here we got a ton of these little surface mount things on here. And if it's just like 2, like that one right there, where it's just got 1 on the left, 1 on the right, then that can be kind of easy. But when you start getting to things like this, where it's got 3 on one side and 2 on the other, then it becomes a little bit more complicated. So right here, you can kind of see what I'm going to try to pluck off. So you can see I put my tweezers on it. You can see it in the camera right there. So it's got 1, 2, 3 on the right, and then 2 on the left. And I've got some control over the flow right here. So that's the amount of air that's going to be pushing out. And then we can adjust the temperature. So right now it's at 300. And I'm just going to bring this up to about 400, 500, we'll call 500. So it's going to be pretty hot. But for desoldering, sometimes that's what you need. Okay, so that heats up nice and quick too. So that's an important thing. So right now I'm just heating it up. It's going to take it a minute to get to a point where I can actually pull it off, so I'm just giving it a little time. So we're at 500 degrees Celsius, which is pretty darn hot. And I'm just going to pluck it right off. Let's see how easy that was. So there you go. No desoldering tools needed, just a little bit of heat. These things come right off. That is so much easier than trying to use wick or whatever you normally use. So these things are awesome. And then to put it back on, you can kind of use the same tool. Usually you just want to clean off those pads and then put on new solder. But just for what we're doing here, I'm going to just drop it back on. So I'm heating up the pads, getting the solder wet again. You can kind of see when they start melting. And just drop it on. There we go. So we're reconnected. It is that easy. Soldering with these things is just so much nicer than trying to do it any other way. So I'm going to bring that down and we're going to set the channels. So say for example you work with 300 most of the time. We can just set this to 300 and hold channel 1. Alright, now channel 1 is going to be 300. Now channel 2, they currently have it set to 200. So if you want to bring that down further, we can even do that. Or we can set this to 400. Let's press and hold. Now that's channel 2. So if you want 300, we go to channel 1, 400, channel 2, and the same thing for channel 3. So you set that to whatever you want, and that'll make your life a lot easier. That way you're not having to press and hold a bunch of different buttons. You can just set these to your most common preferred temps, and then just hit the one that you want, and it goes right there. And because this thing heats up so nice and quick, that's going to be definitely on my tool bench.